YouTube, you're watching Baking with Me, and in this week's episode we are going to be making something that us muggles or wizards are going to really enjoy, and that is Butterbeer Cupcakes. Now I personally am a huge Harry Potter fan, and when I found this recipe I knew I had to make it immediately, and it's not too difficult. They're as difficult as any other standard cupcake recipe, and it'll be in 3 steps that hopefully you'll be able to follow. I really don't think it'll be that difficult, but anyway, I really hope you're going to enjoy this one, guys, because I know I am. Like any recipe, we're going to start by putting the oven on, and for this recipe, we need it at 350. Our next step in getting ready to bake is filling in our cupcake liners in our pans. This recipe should make about 18 cupcakes, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in all of my muffin tins. I chose the different Harry Potter house colors because why don't we just get in the theme of things here? And honestly, I gotta have a couple extra Slytherin because that's my house. And once you finish that, you're gonna spray these with your favorite non-stick cooking spray and then set them aside. Now let's get started with making our cupcakes. For this recipe, you're going to need 2 cups of flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, ½ teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, ½ cup of unsalted butter softened, ½ cup of sugar, ½ cup of dark brown sugar, and make sure you lightly pack that in. 3 large eggs, a teaspoon and a half of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of imitation butter flavoring, ½ cup of buttermilk, and finally, ½ cup of cream soda. Alright, let's get started on those cupcakes. Alright, the first step in making our cupcakes will be to whisk together our dry ingredients. That would include the 2 cups of flour, the 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, the teaspoon of baking soda, and the salt. Just whisk them lightly together. They really don't need too much work. You just want to incorporate all the ingredients together. Once you're done with that, you're just going to set the bowl aside for a bit. Now with your electric mixer, you're going to be creaming your butter and your ½ cup of brown sugar and regular sugar in a bowl. And you're going to beat those until light and fluffy. This should take about 2 minutes, and in between you might want to just scrape down the sides of the bowl to really make sure that all of the ingredients get fully incorporated. When you're all done, light and fluffy should look something like this. Now our next step is to add in the eggs, and you're going to want to do this one at a time, and in between each egg you're going to want to scrape down the sides of your bowl. When all the eggs are added, your batter should look something like this. Now you're going to add your teaspoon of butter flavoring and your 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And once that's all done, you're going to mix well. Now in a small bowl, you are going to add your ½ cup of cream soda and your ½ cup of buttermilk. And I'm just going to stir them together a little bit just to make sure they're combined. Here's the fun part. We're going to alternate adding our dry mixture and our wet mixture to our batter, starting and ending with flour. Now you can basically do what I do, and I just add about 1/3 of this, half of this, 1/3 of this, half of this, 1/3 of this, and then when you're all done, your batter will be set and ready. And when you add these, you're going to want to keep your mixture on low just in case, so you do not have a big poof of flour or a lot of splattering of buttermilk in your face. When you're all done, your batter should look something like this, and now we're ready to fill in our cupcakes. For these cupcakes, we are going to fill them about 3/4 of the way full. An old family trick in my house is to bang your muffin tins on the counter just to settle all of the batter inside them, and that way you kind of can know just how much batter is in them and how close to 3/4 you are. And when you're all set and yours look like mine, you can put them right in the oven for 15 to 17 minutes, and that, or when you poke them with a toothpick and they come out clean. My cupcakes just came out of the oven, and while they're cooling, I'm going to start on the next part, and that's the ganache. Now this is really easy, just 2 simple ingredients, and let's get started. For this part of the recipe, you're going to need 1 11-ounce bag of butterscotch chocolate chips. Again, I'm going to use Nestle because I really believe in that brand, but you can use whatever brand you want. You're also going to need 3/4 cup of heavy cream. For this part of the recipe, you're going to need a double boiler, but if you're like me and don't have one, you can do what I'm using. I'm just using a bowl with water, and another smaller bowl on top that fits perfectly so no water can come out. And that way you basically are making a double boiler without having one, and you'll get the same effect. For our ganache, you're gonna take your bag of chocolate chips and your cup of heavy cream. Now this part's a little tricky because you do not want your chocolate to burn, and you're gonna be constantly stirring it. You're gonna keep stirring until completely smooth. You'll know it's completely smooth because when you scrape the bottom, there will be no extra chocolate chips in the spoon. And when you're all done, you're gonna take the extra bowl off your double boiler and set it aside and let cool until room temperature. Now for your ganache, you're gonna set 1/3 of a cup aside for our frosting. And the rest is going to be used for our filling. Once you've set 1/3 of a cup of the ganache aside, you're gonna pour it into your little plastic squeezy bottle. Now to do this, I'm just gonna be using a big spoon and carefully spooning it in. I think this might be the easiest way, if not the painstaking way. But I figure it's easier to do it this way than any other way. And once it's all full, you're just gonna leave the rest of the ganache aside in case you need it. All right, now you're gonna take your bottle of ganache and put it into the cupcakes. Now you're gonna have to be careful because this is really liquidy and we do not wanna hurt the cupcakes in any way and have them have too much ganache inside. So you're just gonna take a cupcake, squeeze a little bit of ganache, and once it starts coming off on the sides, you know you're done. And you're gonna do that to all the cupcakes. You can go either in the sides or right in the middle, it's up to you. Now I'm all done with my ganache fillingness, and now I have this much extra still in my bottle, which is totally fine. You can save it and put it on ice cream later, or you can just eat it. Or you can do what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this for the very end once the frosting's on them and drizzle it on top to add an extra effect. All right, now that we have our cupcakes filled and we are done with that part, we're gonna start making our frosting. For our frosting, we're gonna need 1 cup of unsalted butter, softened, 1/3 of a cup of the ganache we made, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of the imitation butter flavoring, a pinch of salt, and finally 1 pound of powdered sugar, which equals 3 3/4 of a cup, which is a lot of powdered sugar. All right, let's get started making the frosting. To start our frosting off, we have to sift the confectioner sugar. Now, for sifting, you can get a little sifter machine like this, and ours, you just squeeze the handle and out comes the sifted flour, or sugar, and in our case, we're using powdered sugar. For ours, you just squeeze the handle and out comes the sifted powdered sugar. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Once you sifted through all of your confectioner sugar, it'll look something like this, and it's just very powdery and how confectioner sugar should really look in the first place. And now we're ready to start beating our ingredients together. The first step of making our frosting is to take our 1/2 cup of room temperature butter and to cream it in the mixer. Once your butter's done, it'll look something like this. Now we're gonna add our ganache, vanilla, butter flavoring, and salt and mix until well combined. And when they're all combined, they'll look something like this. Now we're gonna add our confectioner sugar, and you're gonna wanna do this slowly. And then even when you think it's beaten, give it another minute or two just to make sure it's fully incorporated. You really do not wanna be eating your cupcake and to have a ball of confectioner sugar in there. It's not fun. So you're gonna just add this slowly, and then we're gonna add tablespoons of heavy cream until we get the desired consistency we want. All right, now without the heavy cream, as you can see, the batter is very, very thick, and it's almost fudge-like. So to make it more of a frosting, we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of heavy cream until we get to the desired consistency we want. I added in my heavy cream and then beat for about 2 minutes to really fully incorporate everything. And this is what my amazing frosting looks like, and it tastes so good. And now we're ready to start frosting our cupcakes. When it comes to frosting, there are so many methods to do it. You can just spread the frosting on with a spatula, or you can use a pastry bag. Now personally, I'm gonna use a pastry bag, and I just use Wilton brand everything because it's easy and it's really simple to find. They have it at Michael's, AC Moore, so many stores. And I have the little tip number 21 on it, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm just gonna make a little spiral pattern on the cupcakes, and then we'll be done. All right, when you're all set, your cupcakes are gonna look something like this. Now, I'm gonna add a little bit of our ganache, which I still have in my bottle, to the tops of these, just to add a little extra flair or whatnot to your cupcakes, and just to make them look a little bit more fancy. And this is what our finished Butterbeer cupcakes look like. I must say I am proud of these. They took like forever, but they look so good, and honestly, if these don't make you feel like you're at Hogwarts, I don't know what else will. If you guys make these at home, be sure to send me a picture to my Twitter at @TheBLynch, and maybe you'll be in the next video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. It took a lot of work, but I must say it's so worth it. These look amazing, and I cannot wait to eat one for dinner. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and be sure to share with your cousins, uncles, aunts, add it on Twitter, tweet it to Daniel Radcliffe or J.K. Rowling. Maybe they'd like it. Anyway, I hope you guys had as much fun as I just did, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.